Yo, mic check, mic check. What's good? What's good? Okay, so we are back. Today is July 16th. We are one day past the middle of the month, and we've obviously had some really nice developments in the last week. Doom and gloom is typically what happens when things don't go well, when price goes down. But as we know, all markets are reflexive, and there's a lot of different catalysts that do happen that bring investor confidence back. People vote with their dollars and their finance, and they choose to invest at certain times. And so, couple talking points. Larry Fink yesterday coming and explaining on the news once again of how Bitcoin is a flight to quality. How people that may live in regimes where governments are untrustworthy, or they understand that their currency is being debased. This is a good, and he used the key term financial instrument. And so that's a huge thing to me, because when you use terms like financial instrument, think about it. What is the instrument made for? An instrument is made for projection and to play, right? And so, in the same aspect of when you're looking at finance and looking at things that you can invest in, financial instruments are things that can, really give you some type of longevity, some type of use case. Reason why you're investing is because you're going for gains, not just for the moment or not just like fly by night, but you're using an instrument to get the job done through time. And so it was great to kind of see him have those comments. Now, as we also know, which I don't take too lightly. I know there's a lot of content, a lot of people are already talking about this whole situation with the former president Donald Trump being shot at the other day. I really don't ever advocate for anybody ever being shot at, like just in general. Like that's never something you want to see. I don't care how much you don't like a person. Whatever the case may be, I'm an advocate for people having life, and so with that being said, it is good to see that the man is still alive. But what does this do with investor sentiment? It allows people to kind of rally behind him in a certain way that maybe they weren't before. Like if we kind of look at some of the polls, which we'll do here in a second, people are really rallying behind the fact that, man, this guy got shot at and he's still out here on his campaign trail. People like that. Now, him projecting himself to be, now we're going to have to see if this is the case in the long run, but him projecting himself to be somewhat of a crypto advocate. Like he's scheduled to speak at the largest Bitcoin conference here literally in a couple weeks. And I'm hoping that he does keep that speaking engagement. But he's also getting people on his team, once again, that are crypto positive. Like these are people that are against Gary Gensler for sure. Like Vance, his vice president elect, that he's saying, hey, this is going to be my running mate. This guy, I just watched a video of him this morning talking about like everything that Gary Gensler has tried to do, or in regards to framing the conversation in regards to how crypto regulation should be, trying to stifle the things that actually have innovation and letting the stuff that is mundane and really don't have no use case ride, like the meme coins. Gary Gensler, he ain't saying nothing about that, but things that are actually trying to create a use case, actually becoming something. Oh, that's security. That's security. And once again, they lost, I don't know how many court cases, one after another after another. They're dropping a lot of their things as far as investigation into a lot of things just because they know they don't have any basis. And so what we're finding out is, even from a political standpoint, even from looking at the lens of looking at the financial markets, everything comes full circle. Now, for you, maybe as an investor or someone who is looking to participate in whatever market, sentiment is a big thing to get fond of and get used to being able to assess. Through my years of my personal journey of investment, at first I really didn't understand sentiment and how they can actually help progress. I'm not gonna say move markets, but they can help progress the narrative that does move the markets. And at the end of the day, a lot of people want comfortability of what the future may hold. And so one thing that we'll see, I'll pop up here on the screen, is if Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, and they're starting to see that spread of where, okay, Donald Trump seems to be way more likely to be the president, they kind of maybe already know what to expect with his type of leadership. And that even turns into certain legislative things, certain things of, are the money printers going to be turned back on in a certain way, just due to our experience. So there's a lot of feel good when it comes to capital markets if it's leaning towards him becoming the president. That's just what we're finding out. And so one thing that you notice, like, on Saturday when all those things transpired, Bitcoin said, okay, time to reverse. Like that reversal was like, boom, let's go. We dwindled down. We had a net negative sell pressure from GBTC. And not just that, like, even from the aspect of Mount Gox spheres and the German government going ahead and selling quite a bit of Bitcoin, billions of dollars. Now, the rest of the market is going to trend with that, so obviously whatever Bitcoin does, the altcoins are going to follow. But increasingly, what we're finding out is more that, as Bitcoin is recovering, that sell side pressure from even the long-term holders has dwindled down. Now there's positive sentiment. Once again, Larry Fink, there's positive sentiment. Once again, hey, believing in Donald Trump being the potential president. Now there's other force multipliers that are now starting to get people to feel confident to go ahead and push this price up. And that's what we're finding, the derivatives markets, there's some people that, are getting liquidated short, but very few. But, now we're starting to see like actual real, like real capital being placed. And this is due to having confidence for the future. So we should be sitting good here in the vaults of crypto. We've talked about some of these dynamics for some time. We understand that election years typically tend to be good years for risk on assets, which that is the category that we have looked into when it comes to crypto. But also we're gonna see the follow through. Typically Q3 and Q4 are those really advantageous times to be in markets, because the thing is this, like sometimes if you're waiting to position yourself perfectly or waiting to get that perfect entry point. Well, one, we just had a really good one about a week ago. I did a stream here for us to acknowledge that. I've been, keeping plenty of content in the vault. So hop on Patreon. The link is in the description, you guys. We got stuff in there, weekly, if not daily, on making sure you're abreast on being aware of what's going on in the market and how to have the tools to make the decisions that you need to make personally for your portfolios, right? I'm all about, personal knowledge and empowerment when it comes to being an investor. But with that being said, we're able to see how strong this recovery is. And we've got a strong one. We went from legitimately having fears of going down to like 40K, 45K. Oh no, here we come. To okay, we get to about 53, 54, but now we're already back up at 64K. So a $10,000 difference. That's about like 16 to 18% return from that local low. Now we'll see what the follow through may look like. So I know I'm up here. I've got a long monologue. That was 10 minutes. Let's check the comments. Thank y'all for coming through. Who we got in the chat today? Of course. Make money. What it do? So he's saying what's up to Henry. We already got Henry in the chat. LFG. Yes, sir. And this is what I was alluding to. So Larry Fink advocating Bitcoin as a sign. It's about to pop off. And once again, he's already commented on Bitcoin several times, but he's very good at utilizing the correct moments to comment on his own interest, right? Once again, BlackRock, they are accepting fees for an ETF that they're offering. Now, this is in lieu or in preparation for the Ethereum ETF that is soon to come down the pike once again sometime this month. There's news on that, saying like, hey, all the S1 filings, all these things are in. They're ready to move forward with getting this done and actually getting it active. So this is good news. Once again, where's the money at? These ETFs are important. Most of the money is in the hands of people on Wall Street. Once they say, okay, let's get an allocation, whatever it is, 0.5%, 1%, 2%, as time goes on, liquidity gets sucked away from other assets. And this is how we get estimations for cryptocurrency as a whole, not just being in terms of an asset class of being like, oh, we can get to 3 or 5 trillion. We're talking about like in the span of like 8 to 10 years, we're talking like 80 to 100. Now, what does that do to your portfolio when you have things that are small market caps of like maybe like 10 to 100 million, whatever the case may be? So the multiples are there, but the key is just choosing the right things, being in the right assets for long enough to be able to weather the storms, understand what the volatility is going to look like, continue to add to your bags, and keep the regular scheduled routine going no matter what happens on the outside. Your portfolio needs to be held strong by your decisions. And so this is key. This is why we educate ourselves. That's why I'm here to help you guys get educated about where we're currently at and what things to be seem to be going to here in the future. So let's see what else we got. So that's the thing. On the 23rd of this month, it's never official till it's official, but as of right now, it's looking in the high 90th percentile that is something that's going to be happening. So we'll keep tabs on that as that launches and look at those flows and see what those ratios to BTC and how many flows BTC is getting versus Ethereum. Is it additional flows or is it capturing some from BTC? We'll talk about that. So first things first, let's actually talk about this. Let me show you guys this information here, which I don't know if y'all have seen this before, but let's jump on in. So all right, so let's jump here. So we have, and once again, I'm all about giving you guys the resources. So this is polymarket.com. This is a site. First of all, people don't even realize there's a whole cohort of people betting on the presidential election, like betting the odds as if it's a sports game, like what team is gonna win. And so, like, I'm talking about millions of dollars on the bid and the sell and the ask side to say, all right, cool, like, who do you think is gonna win? It's like basically doing calls or not calls and puts, but being able to leverage play or do some type of derivative play on the market even as well. And it's pretty crazy. But if we look into, what this chart is telling us, we're talking back in, March of 2024. So just a few months ago, things seem to, have a spread. So we're talking, and the bottom three, we're not even going to include like, Michelle, Newsom, and Kamala. Like, as of right now, they're not even close. But as you see at this time, the spread is only 20% between Biden and Trump. Now, here in the middle of the year, so just here in April and May, they're even. Like they were like 44%. Either way, we don't know. But the key is this: once Biden started to show more of like, hey, I'm not as inclined, I will use that word, I'm not as inclined to speak and just be out here and doing all this stuff like maybe how I was 4 years ago. Once he is forced to have to talk to people and start his campaign trail, you can't hide behind the White House walls forever. And what we find out is, he can barely keep 5 sentences together. And you see this divide, it's more and more and more. And then on certain events, right, like even here in late June, it's just like, oh yeah, that debate, okay, he goes down even more. So he's at 34%, goes down to 17%. And then Trump just kind of treading along. But like, here's the thing: since Saturday, you see Trump go from 60% to 72%, so 12% jump. And it's just like, yeah, you know, people are rallying behind that. So crypto people are rallying behind it for sure, because once again, he's said, hey, I have no problem with Bitcoin. I think it's something that's good for the people. As long as we keep the US dollar shit, that's my reenactment. But nonetheless, he's not trying to place some type of an iron fist on top of the market with his words and his rhetoric. So that's a good thing. Now, through time, we'll continue to see how this tends to operate. But balance of power. Now, here is the thing. If they have a sweep, this is something that we have to pay attention to, because when it comes to spending money and deficits within the United States budget, things are very much easily passed and they happen a lot quicker when you have a clean sweep. That means you have majority in the presidency, obviously, Senate, and then also the House. So the House of Representatives, this is the governing body. They have over 400 members. This is always going to be the hardest one to get a good majority in. But they happen, like, throughout the last 20 years, like we've had a couple situations within the presidencies where we did have all the same, party being the majority of every branch that we're talking about here. So we'll once again continue to see the probability of how this may end up, because the thing is, you don't want to operate the moment that it happens. The way that markets are, they're always operating in 6 months to a year ahead of when the actual events and things come into place. And then so we have to basically be able to do the same thing and get a little bit of projection. Now, you're not going to have everything right. One or two things may be a little wrong, but the thing is, you want to see, okay, well, what is the likely trend? And you just want to be able to be hedged in place for that potentiality in that moment to come in the future. So these are things to monitor. As I'm talking, let's jump over to Bitcoin. So this is the weekly chart. Now, what I have here, once again, for y'all, if y'all have not seen this, this is, where you're like, man, what are these vertical green bars here? Now, this is the halving profit window. So essentially from the halving. And once again, I'm giving out free game to you guys. So if y'all don't even join the Patreon, which I highly suggest you do, many different tier levels, whatever your budget is, it's fine. The free game is this: after every halving. So once again, we have the halving highlighted here, and then we also have the other halving highlighted, which was back here in April. 40 to 80 weeks is always going to be the most advantageous time to look at your portfolio and then consider taking profits. Anything before that or in between there, you do nothing. You chill. So you do as much accumulating as you can before the halving. So here was the window, right? And we definitely highlight weeks number 135 after halving, all the way to essentially week number 180. So this time period was really good to accumulate just through the weeks and through the months. You don't have to get it perfect. But with that being said, you give yourself an asymmetrical type return with extremely low risk because of the way that you go about the cycles and you have understanding. We're somewhere in this window. So coming up, we have some green candles that are popping off here the last week, and we're making a green candle this week. Now, when we get to January 2025, this is when we need to reassess. Okay, hey, where's the market? Where's my portfolio first and foremost? In between October 2025, we're like, okay, this seems to be long on the tooth. Is there last minute things I need to look at or serious considerations I need to look at when it comes to taking profits? Now, with that being said, we have to assess trend. So let's bring that down to the daily. So last time I talked about this and we discussed, if y'all remember the stream and y'all can go back and watch it, we were looking at this and we're like, hey, this thing could go either way, but it looks to be closer to this upper trend line. And then so we're having this conversation here as we're chopping sideways, right? Boom. And I'm like, it depends. It seems like we're creating a nice support. We see these wicks here telling us a story that price is being defended very well. Um, you know, let's see if we can maintain that. And what do you know? We went ahead and the couple prerequisites, which I'll reiterate. So we need to break the 12-day moving average, which we did that first and foremost here in purple. We broke the upper trend line, so that's base number 2. And then we make it up to the dotted line. So we have this horizontal corridor taking price high, getting all of price low, and saying, hey, what's the median, the mean, the price here in the middle? And generally, you find yourself in a good favorable position if, one, you're investing below that, first of all, but then also, two, to now go ahead and attack the top of the corridor and then eventually make new all-time highs. And so this is, I did this in technical analysis 101, getting us to understand some of the basics. Now, another moving average that's very important is the 200-day. So briefly, once again, the 200-day moving average is a moving average that in a bull market, you rarely get below. So we had a period of time where we were below the 200-day moving average from mid-August of 2023 to just about, mid-October. So just a couple months. Now we had another opportunity briefly, we talking about like not even 2 weeks where we had that opportunity of where the sell side pressure was extremely low. The risk gets a lot lower versus being someone who wants to buy towards all-time highs. And when price is pumping, you always want to consider, hey, if we're getting a drawback and I'm feeling the pain a little bit, if I already have a portfolio, or you're hearing people on whatever, like, man, it's going down, it's bad. Like, that's when you want to look, because that means they're on the opposite side of the investment. Typically, majority of people are on the wrong side of investment when they're overly bearish or overly doom and gloom or overly excited. Once again, these are sentiment reads that you can see amongst your common folk with people that you talk about who may be participating in markets. And so, that's something important to think of. Let's see. Cool. Yeah. So for sure. Hopefully you guys can utilize that website to just kind of keep track. Who else we got in the chat? What's good? We got Wade. Hello. Thank you for coming through. As always, the consistency is key. Let's see. So Trump made a great choice for VP. He can't wait to get rid of Gensley. I know, right? This guy's like, look, we got to get this dude out, which, I mean, it's going to happen regardless. What else we got? So hanging onto that crypto is the hardest part. I've had to sell a bit of crypto to pay for things. Since buying the bottom 2 years ago, it's been a long time. Still have decent backs though. So, but here's the thing. The key is, what'd you do? You bought earlier at a much lower price, and so if you have to sell something, even if you're in profit, hey, you got to do what you got to do for your personal life. Now, what the goal is to maintain your best assets through time, because that's how you get the most out of it, instead of having to dilute your bags. Now, what I would propose to you potentially is say, okay, now what with your time could you maybe adjust to be able to do something on the side that may be outside of your 9 to 5? Something that you can continue to work on that brings you a little extra revenue. Maybe starting something online. Maybe, partnering, being an affiliate with somebody else's company, whatever it may be. But that's what I would try to do and give energy to that before even touching the crypto. Because trust me, I've had to look at those options as well, even myself. And what I've found is when you make a good business, when you can prosper in a good business, it's going to make sure that you have the monthly income that you need to take care of all your living expenses, your needs, even your wants, all that jazz. That way you can let your investments compound and grow, and you don't have to touch them. That's the hardest part with a lot of people. They want to touch their investment all the time. It's like, no, you got to put it in, let it sit. Not just a year. We're talking 4, 5, 10, 20 years. This is how you get to where you'd like to be in the long term, because life is long. It's never just the moment. And so we have to think about, hey, if we plan on living for quite some time, we got to be able to think that long as well. And so that's the key. Question: how soon till ETH breaks its all-time high? Now that's gonna highly leverage depending on the type of inflows that Ethereum may have. Like once again, let me trek over to Ethereum real quick and highlight that. So here's great. So let's pivot and talk about this real quick. So here is the Grayscale Ethereum Trust, which I want to say, are they doing ETF? I don't know. But once again, like these capital, they're going to sell if they do, once again, just like they did Bitcoin. But once again, look at this gap up. So from the last day, and same thing for all the inflows for the Bitcoin ETFs, this gap up in one day, we're talking 11%. That's very nice. So what do we see? We see this showing us an easy, like verifiable trend. This is like more of a, like if you can't see this as far as really like the last year, let me make it plain for you. So when we look at this, let me bring it here. So let's look at this. We can clearly see the movement here, down draw, here, down draw, here. Now, what makes these up moves so powerful are you can see the gap ups. So what I mean by gap ups, the actual gaps in price. So once again, what does this mean? This means that from price close on this particular day, there's so much buying action happening in the after hours that they have to gap up and open up at a much higher price to start the day. So what that looks like is, this area here, that area there softly, an area like here. But even looking at this candle right here, like this is in May 20th, 2024, this one candle, this is ridiculous, right? And so you see an uptrend, a down draw, an uptrend, a down draw. Now we started that uptrend once again since, July 8th, and now we are going to see some bullish movement. Now we could use things like RSI and all that good stuff. We'll maybe do that another stream. But once again, just looking at the overall trend and saying, hey, like things are getting broken out on several fronts. So if we want to put a situation here, kind of get an idea of, where that looks to be, taking tops. And yeah, we're going ahead and forming new price movement going higher. So being able to assess what that looks like is important for us and for you guys, because at the end of the day, it's going to be a maturation of paying attention, being aware, but having steadfastness in your conviction on the moves that you might have made. Once again, like you said, you've been invested here for a couple years now. And then so now you can actually see what it looks like from buying a bear market bottom to things appreciating in a bull market. And we're just like barely hitting the halfway point. And if you guys don't know, so most of the gains in the accumulation, or I guess you can say the percentile gains, happen in the second half of the 4-year cycle, which we're now encroaching on once we get to like Q4 and Q1 of this year or next year. So we're in a really good spot. So if we want to translate that to Ethereum, because as you can kind of see, the top for this, and I just kind of want to look at distance, right? So because this is kind of going to be like a mover of the price of Ethereum. So this is just about 14% away, okay? If we look over at Ethereum, it is, let me see, it's maybe a little bit further away from its previous high, right? So, and we'll talk about previous high, not all-time high. So it's 18% from the previous local peak. But then again, if we want to look at this, I mean, let's put it on the monthly, and we'll take off the halving profit window for now. For example, if we want to look at all-time high and relative to last cycle, we still got some room to go. So the top of that wick is, we're still about 40% away from that. But as you know, in one monthly candle, 40% is really not nothing in crypto. That happens all the time. So I mean, really, it's just going to depend on a lot of factors. Is the ETF going to come out this month? What is going to be the actual investment interest? And I think if they just have moderate investment interest, then we'll go ahead and take out this high, especially if Bitcoin is, moving along how it seems to be doing for this month. But then again, we'll just have to see on the consistency through time. So we're looking at the next quarter, really. So Q3 is going to tell us a lot about how we're moving forward within this market this year. So, Ethereum is looking good. If we put on the Hatter really quickly, put this on the weekly briefly, and once again, we're talking about plenty of buy signals at a very advantageous time. So the Hatter is telling us, hey, like a screaming buy opportunity back here, and I was so happy when Ethereum dropped this low because I bought a lot of it, and I'm sure some of you guys did too as well if y'all are watching. We got down to $1,000. It's now 350% higher price. Even here, about $1,300. We had another buy signal before October, the liquidity push that we got in all markets in Q4 of 2023. So once again, this is about the halfway mark. Uh, it gets more exciting. I did a stream about what it looks like after the halving. What do those ratios look like in terms of performance? Just what we've seen, and that's all we can do is we can do the research and position ourselves without buying any local tops. Now, one thing that we'll look at, and then we'll take a look at CoinGecko. Then I'll call it for this stream because I do have to go. I got some family in town, y'all, so we got to hang out. But really quickly, let me show you guys this really quick. So total 3, we can look at the market cap, and just a reminder for us all, for you guys, is that and let's make it make sense. So let's get off some of this stuff off the chart real quick. Okay, so we can take that off. We can take this off. All right. Cool. So once again, this thing is all about being on sides, right? So on sides, off sides. Areas of support, areas of resistance. 200-week moving average. We didn't touch it, but we're looking to get close. But even this is now looking to be, and the key is this: like if we go ahead and break this trend, then yeah, like we are changing trend even on the market capitalization for all the altcoins. We're not there yet, but we will have that answer here within 2 to 3 weeks on if we're able to break this trend line here. But if so, then generally, yeah, we'll attack this, local peak, and then we'll move forward from there. And once again, as of this cycle, right, that will be new all-time highs for the altcoin market. So, for example, for your coins, for what you are actually holding, like you're actually gonna feel really good once we break this area of $787 billion. Now, once again, the key is this: you're on sides, all down here, right? So, all this, this accumulation range, like, was great. Like, like, eat it up. Great. Beautiful. We had a liquidity push in October, so this is like the best deal. This is good deal. Just know that the moment that we go over $1.1 trillion for the total 3 market capitalization, this is when you are clearly off sides. You do not need to be investing into anything volatile, any altcoins, none of that, because this is when all retail and the rest of their mama people who don't even think about investing, all year, they want to come for a month or two and say, hey, what about this coin? I heard this is happening. And so that's when you'll know, hey, that's when you don't need to be doing something, is because the market tends to start to get oversaturated. And this is when we go and look at the halving profit window and assess and say, all right, now what do we want to take profits on? Because by then, once again, if you're an investor down here, like how many of us were, by then, your portfolio is going to be looking nice. Now we're talking about just 300% gain from the total, 3. So like the whole market cap of altcoins outside of Bitcoin and Ethereum. But for your individual coin, what this looks like a 10x. This looks like a 25 or 15x or even 30x, whatever you may call it, depending on how hot when you got in, but then also the market capitalization of when you did buy that asset. So this is positive development. I'm glad to see this reversal here. We want to see some follow through in the next stream. I'm gonna come with more on-chain data to solidify this, which I'll probably do that here within 5 days to a week. But within a day or two, we'll be getting down to it in more detail, more talking points, more things to pay attention to, more coins to look at, because there's stuff out here, but you got to know what to look for. We'll be discussing all that in Patreon over the next day or so. So last but not least, let's check out CoinGecko. So what do we have pumping for the week? And, we got some things going. Let's actually just look for the day. Let's talk about today. So for the day, we got some things going. Let's refresh that just to make sure we're good. So we just got above, 2.4 trillion dollars, which is nice. We're at 2.2 for a little second. For the day, what do we have going? Pepe, some Pepe. Y'all seen the thumbnail, right? Dog with hat. This my dog right here, right? This is my dog. Man, we had a great drawdown. Man, we had a great opportunity to DCA. Um, Now, when these memes lift off, they lift off, and a lot of people like the memes once again, just because of the commonality that you can have between them. They're simple. Just hey, throw $100, 200, see what happens. But if you get 5 million people that do that, then now you got market capitalization and price appreciation. So this is good to see. Like, I mean, really, if you want to look at dog with hats over, let's call it the last 7 days. Yeah, so when we had that stream here in early July, we had $1.70 dog with hat, $1.50. Now we're at $2.20, and in very short order, it takes really like 2 days of good price action. We'll see this at $3. So there's your double. Like, so for people who are investing in traditional finance stuff and they wait 7 years for 100% gain, hey, here you go. You get it in a week when you understand the market. But it don't just stop there. It's all about longevity. Don't just do it in for a quick like dollar or a quick whatever. Like, you're trying to be a steward of what God has blessed you with. Hopefully, that's the goal. And then from there, we have to cultivate and we have to be farmers. And so I use this analogy all the time. The goal is to be a farmer. Every good farmer knows the season, knows when to pull crops. They know when to plant seeds, and they know when to water. They know when it's too hot out. They know when they need to provide shade for their crop. So us as investors, we have to do the same thing. So it's deeper than just placing some of the money that you have. It's a journey that you have to go on and allow yourself the grace to try to do well with it. And the more that you focus on trying your best, the better that you'll be through time. And that's the key. Like, there's no secret formula, but it's about learning. Like, the key is, like, you got to learn and continue to try to learn, not just be okay with just knowing the bare bones basics. But why these are appealing, because people that even know the bare bones basics are willing to throw capital here. And so this is why, since I don't remember when, I really, since like 30 cents, like 35 cents is when I first, talked about this in the group. And, we're almost close to a 10x here when we get to $3. So yes, it's no front. It just takes, time and effort to see and understand, but really just the due diligence and the consistency to stick with it through time. And so dog with hat doing this thing. Is there anything else that looks to be exciting that I can talk about? Let's see. Meme coins on Pulse Chain, not too much interested in those. I'd rather just invest in Pulse Chain and Pulse X. Let's see. Yo, Navin, what it do? Better late than never is key, right? But then once you're here, stick around, right? Let's do this thing for a while, right? Let's get it. So appreciate you. Let's see. Does ETH BTC ratio confirm bullish trend over a certain point? Let me make a note on that. Let's talk about that next stream. Yeah, let me make a note on this. We'll talk about that ratio. Gotcha. Okay, let's go. Okay, I scooped up more Pepe below 9 cents. Hey, and so where's it at now? It's at 12. So if you got some math right, you should be up 30, 33, 34%. That's nice. I like that. That's what's up. So yeah, just taking the times of these drawdowns, really understanding how to operate in them, and investing is really easy. It doesn't have to be too hard, but yeah, in a year, look at that. Boom. 7x on your capital. Ain't that nice, right? Imagine what's going to be at, sometime, Q1 of 2025. I'm sure you'll be happy. So this is great. This is really good. All right, y'all. So that's what I have for you. Let me go ahead and bring it back. So once again, this is all about your journey. You don't need to just listen to me on YouTube. You don't need to listen to some other person. The goals for everybody are going to be different. Everybody's at different age, different aspirations, whatever it may be. At the end of the day, just know that as long as you're trying to create a better future for yourself, you're never. I don't, in my personal opinion, you're not doing the wrong thing. Now you have to, say, hey, I don't want to sacrifice, too much of my life outside of trying to build for my future. You got to live your life, to the extent of, what you have going on now, but don't just only consume, right? Like I'm always coming on here telling you guys that, like, don't just only consume of like what your immediate wants are. Delayed gratification is one of the best attributes and characteristics that people can have, simply because, once again, life is long, and at some point you're not going to want to have to export the amount of energy, time, and effort on a daily basis, going from your 9 to 5, taking time away from your family, your friends, the life that you actually want. You don't want to do that for 60 more years. You want to try to condense that down to where you can have a little bit more free time, more controllable time in your hands later when you decide to have that, and say, hey, maybe I want to cool down on my working hours, but you'll be able to have the finance to back up what you want to do for your lifestyle. This is what I think a lot of people do have as their goal, and if it's not that, it's maybe some version of that. So I'm here just, once again, y'all stay confident. I'm gonna continue to be here, especially in the Patreon, and helping you guys even on an individual level, and so, like, we have a chat in there where we have questions that get asked, and it's just like, it's not an aspect, like I said, of just listening to me, but I ask you guys questions so you guys can now go and do your due diligence to come up with a lot of answers for yourself. And that's the best type of education that I've ever got, that I think that anybody can get, is when they're tasked to go and figure it out, but they get pointed in the right direction. And once again, it's up to you to create the life and to create the steadfastness that you need to be able to stick in a volatile market like crypto, for sure. So um, definitely, we got some chats. Let me see. Oh, snap! So you're saying you got it at 4 zeros and a 9, not 9 cents. Oh, you're eating. Congrats. That's great. Yes, sir. Wade, thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. So real quick, let me just do this. Let me do this real quick. So, let's see here. Any other chats? Y'all have any questions before we log off? Anything? Any thoughts? Let me see. Okay, so if not, let me just go ahead and show you guys this real quick then. So we discussed this. We discussed these things prior. Here's the Vaults of Crypto, the Patreon. Definitely consider, you guys, if y'all need more of a push, someone that's going to be an advocate for you, to say, hey, look at this area. Make sure you're covering your bases here. Understand risk and reward. All these aspects, right? Um, Definitely consider. We have different options for exact tiers that you want to maybe consider being in, and so they're price friendly. I even do live demos on how to DCA into DeFi. Right, this was a clip that went into Post Chain. Just DCA into some coins there. Did a live demo of how to make sure your wallet is doing what it needs to do. What does it look like to go on these dexes and operate the right way? And so if y'all are wanting to get some of that, like, it's in the Patreon. So once again, just a lot of stuff. And I mean, look at this. So we talked about this on July 10th. Let me see. So let's make it make sense. So this is July 10th. I say, hey, we are looking to see what trend line breaks first. That will tell us the momentum we will go the rest of this summer. And at the moment, price was at 56K. Now it's at 64K. We broke the resistance at 60, and all those things I mentioned before. We broke the trend line. And so, yeah, we find ourselves somewhere over in here. And, hey, in the vault, we knew about it. So definitely consider Patreon. It's in the chat, but also in the link in the description. And yeah, I'd love to see y'all in there. We have a good time, a lot of fun. So cool. Well, I appreciate you guys for joining me this stream. I will be back probably, like I said, within 5 to 7 days. Consider subscribing, but then also click that notification bell if you guys want to be notified when I drop a new video. And you already know I'm coming with the fire, making sure that we're all feeling good about where we're at and where we're going. keeping the conviction, and sticking it all the way through this bull run. So with that being said, I'm going to catch you guys in the next video. Peace.